everybody, and welcome back to the Press Break podcast. We are Chelsea, Tyler, and Jamie, and we are here to talk all things women's basketball. But this week, obviously, we're getting into the gritty of the March Madness tournament, where it's the Final Four. These two are about to be jetting off to Tampa Bay, while I stay here in Canada. So, woo! But anyway, we are going to pause on the Final Four talk and immediately get into the news of, dare I say, the month, the week, the whatever. And that was in the final minutes of last night's Elite Eight match between TCU and
Texas.
Sorry. There was a lot of basketball happening. In the final minutes of that game, a notification comes out that Olivia Miles, one, is not declaring for the WNBA draft, which, if that was the news alone, it would be shocking, but not like earth-shattering. The second part of the news is that what really gets it is that she's entering the transfer portal out of Notre Dame and will not be playing her final year of college at Notre Dame, which is wild. So yeah, like, I just to like get my initial reaction before I head to you guys, but I was at a watch party for the games last night. Me and a friend decided to go out and watch on a big screen, which was fun. And we're just sitting there watching the game. Not the best game, but we'll get to that. And my phone just starts blowing up with all this Olivia Miles stuff. And I was shook. Like, I think it's like, first of all, she was definitely like a first round lottery. She was for a while number 2 pick, but we've kind of talked about how she was possibly not going to be maybe top 2. But anyway, high draft pick, supposed to like make a splash in the WNBA, is very committed to this very prestigious program at Notre Dame that has performed well despite a few hiccups in the past few years. And first of all, is not declaring for the draft and then is leaving. Like, I know the transfer portal is a very big thing these days, but there are just some players that you do not expect to transfer. And she's one of them. So yeah, I was shook. And my friend I was with, he's not like, he's getting into college basketball, but he doesn't like know, it's hard for people up here to like really be in tune with it. But he was like, how crazy is this? And I was trying to like explain it to him in ways that, a casual fan would understand. But like, I was like, I couldn't even focus on the rest of the game.
Like, no, seriously.
What was your reactions to it,
bro?
Like, yeah.
I'll tell you this. The only thing that I can compare it to, like from recent memory, right? Like from a shock, like where did this news come from? Was from the NBA side, the Luka Doncic trade. That was the only thing that like the same like heart drop. Like, is this real? Like those type of questions.
Early
like
April Fools hit send.
No, I'm serious. like I had to check the time, make sure it hadn't hit midnight. But I'm like, no, this is real Shams. Like, I didn't get got from Twitter. Like, so like it would like that is the only thing I could compare it to, frankly. Because again, kind of to your point, Chelsea, like we had dialogue of like with really all of these recruits, right? Of okay, yeah, you might have, whether it be a Paige, whether it be an Olivia, like there's players that have eligibility, right? And you have the CBA, so like there's very real reasoning to come back. Like I understand that. I think there's also reasons to go. From a a fit perspective, if you're going to this team, like there's just a lot of factors going into it. But it was always go to the draft or come back. There was never a third option of entering the transfer portal. And the idea of Olivia Miles in a different NCAA jersey literally breaks my brain. Like, it's not something that I can, like, eat. Like, I have tried to picture as I've thought of teams, like, okay, maybe she can go here, go here. I can look at it from, like, a basketball X's and O perspective of, like, oh, this would fit well. And I'm sure we'll talk about teams, so I'll save that a little bit. But, like, this might fit well with this player. But even while doing that in my brain, I still see her in the Notre Dame jersey. Even if she's on the court with this other team, like, it is truly, I mean, to me, like, I thought about it since the news. I'm like, has there ever been a more shocking transfer portal entry? I don't know if there has been. I think
Haley Van Lith was shocking out of Louisville, but like, I don't think.
Yeah, but even then, I still think that this is more, because like the way that Olivia Miles has been committed and has been so openly positive about Notre Dame, like I still feel like this is more. I know another one. I was doing the no cap space stuff last night, and one that the name got brought up was EDD transferring out of UConn. and going to Delaware, like where she did, and still having that success, just going from a big school to small school.
Yeah.
But you know, again, the fact that we can even ask the question and not really have an answer might be our answer,
Yeah.
when it comes to like how massive this transfer is. So we could get into potential fits and everything, but my initial reaction was just like, is this real? Oh my God, it is. What the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Like
I
I
think
was in disbelief.
it's definitely the biggest move, I think, of this, like, new era of transfer portal-esque stuff.
Mm, mhm.
Jamie, I mean, you don't have to go fully into it if it was the same reaction as the 2 of us,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, what were your thoughts?
I mean, to me, I think it's kind of a signifier of like the sort of shift in the way that college athletics is approached and viewed, in the fact that, to me, a lot of this screams like business decision. And that's not to say like there's already like a bunch of, rumors, whatever, swirling about like, oh, she was offered this much money by this much school and they did this, that, whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, there's obviously been like the way that the transfer portal works. She knew before she entered the portal a number of schools that were interested and what they were offering her. However, I don't think that's the sole reason, but it's a contributing factor. Like when I talk about the transfer portal, it's hard because a lot of people want to oversimplify it, and it's just
Mhm.
not simple. Like at its
Mhm.
core, it is just not simple. Like when people leave a school, it's almost never for one singular reason. It's a combination of factors of your fit with the coaching staff, your fit with your teammates, your role on the team, your
Mm.
education, your location, your compensation, all of those things. And so it's not going to be one thing that pulls you out or pushes you out, but they're contributing factors. And so I do think that it's really wild to see someone who like has been Notre Dame for her college
That's what's
career, and
so crazy.
especially like
Yeah.
to have the injury and to have to work
Mhm.
her way back. And then there's all this discourse of, well, how is the Miles Hidalgo combo gonna work? And it turns out it works pretty well, but there's things that obviously were deficiencies in that system, but it wasn't like a broken connection, it wasn't a broken system. It's
Mhm.
just that, it's things aren't perfect. And I think there was a lot of growth to still be made if she chose to return to college, but at the same time, there's growth to be made elsewhere too. And so what I'm most interested to see is what she's prioritizing in her
Right.
recruitment, what she's
Yeah.
prioritizing in a different school, whether that be, okay, I want to be the primary point guard, the primary distributor, or if maybe she's saying, I want to go to a really balanced team where I'm
Mhm.
going to have the opportunity to be on ball, off ball, show a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
I'm just very curious to see, because I think for me, when I see players go in the portal, when I really know something is when they start narrowing down who they're talking to. Because when someone says, this is the reason I'm going in the portal, you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's all PR. But when you see where they end up going, you
Mhm.
can start figuring out, okay, is this a really different coaching staff? Is this a really different place? Are they going to have a really different role? Sometimes it's really hard to make sense of it. And then you just say, well, then there's things going on behind the scenes that I don't know, that I can't understand. I'm not in
Yeah.
there having those
Yeah.
conversations. But it's certainly very intriguing. It shakes things up a whole lot. As we know, things can be kind of a domino effect where you have one player that maybe leaves a program and other people think, wow, I really can't imagine playing without them. Or you have them coming in and all of a sudden there's players that maybe see their potential role diminished and so then they're out. But it'll be really interesting, because when you have, it's like a ripple in the water, the ripple effects, but this is a boulder. Like this is a whole
Yeah.
landslide
Yeah.
And I
into the
think, like,
pond.
yeah, the thing with her is we know she missed a year, so she's only played 3 years of college. Completely understandable for her to be like, "I'm not ready for the pros yet. I need another year." Same with AZ Fudd, like, that's what she said. She was like, "I need another year to just kinda work on my game and this and that." And I think there's so much also happening on the WNBA side that people aren't really getting. as well. Like the CBA is something that this makes this year very interesting for draft prospects with eligibility. The fact that the NIL space is like ever changing and like there's so many different factors that I don't think people
We're
understand.
introducing revenue share for 2025,
Yes.
26. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of very compelling reasons to choose to hold out of the draft for this specific coming year that are not in play in almost any other situation.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's least surprising for it to happen now of any time in recent history, but it's still wild to go from, you know, I think part of it too is there's so much speculation and so much assumption where she hadn't confirmed that she was leaving or staying before, but everyone just kind of said, well, she'd be, you know, this lottery pick if she goes, and so everyone kind of figured she would go.
Yeah, it was weird because after the game when they lost, she talked about feeling like she had kind of like the vibe. I don't have like the exact quote in front of me, but it was like that she had kind of
outgrown college. Yeah,
and so like I was like, okay, well, sounds like going to the draft.
Yeah,
great. We'll see you in New York.
She just outgrown her college.
And then literally,
we just didn't know that it was that institution specifically. Apparently,
exactly.
But I will say, like, to kind of to Jamie's point of like the different factors and just all across the board here. I also wanted like NIL is also very different. Even just in this span, I feel like the last time that we had this real conversation was with Angel and Caitlin deciding to go into the draft or not. Is kind of what that felt like. And even since then, NIL has already changed so much. And there is a real world now where you have your endorsements, right? Your endorsements are just one part of NIL. Those are going to follow you. And that was like the main discourse of the Angel and Caitlin year of them going was like, oh, they'll make more money in college. That's not like the endorsements are going to follow. Obviously, we've seen that proven. That's a stupid point. That's a mute point at this point. If you're making that, you're wrong. However, in this year, especially before the new CBA comes in, NIL collectives paying you directly to go to this school, to X school, and say, hey, we'll give you $1 million to come to this school. You know, like whatever the number may be. I just threw a number out there, but like whatever that number may be, right?
It's high though. You're not exaggerating.
Oh, well, I threw a number out there, but it's a number based on other numbers.
Certainly one of the numbers.
Like it is that is a number, and so like that. Yeah, you could make more money playing an extra year in college right now than you can going to the W and getting on this rookie contract in this old CBA. So there is more reason than ever, you know, to y'all's point of staying this year.
That's the thing is that I think that it's with the old CBA. Like that's the point is
For
that
sure.
by waiting, you are guaranteeing yourself more base money on your contract. And so it's not about college versus pro. It's about year one in pro in 2025 versus year one as a pro in 2026. And that's what I think people conflate.
Yes.
And they make it college versus pro.
Yes,
when
and it's never
year one
it's
versus
not that.
year one a year later, where you're not missing out on a year of income because you're still going to make money as a collegiate athlete through NIL. And then you are guaranteeing yourself more on your base salary and probably a lot more benefits. And so I think that's where people are conflating these two issues, and it makes it make a lot of sense for, I mean, also, you know, you have Lauren Betts who I want to play with my sister, but also you that are going to be on the new CBA.
Exactly.
Like anyone who could be on the new CBA, I do not blame them whatsoever for opting to come back to college for another year because you're missing out on comparatively little going to the pros, where if you feel like you're ready, sure, go. But if you're still going to be an elite prospect the year after, the CBA is almost certainly going to be more beneficial.
And I think everyone's just kind of throwing stuff under NIL. Like money equals NIL. And that is not, it's simply not that simple at all. So, and obviously we don't even know if that's the reason why she left, you know. I will say, I'm not going to lie. Can I throw out a couple schools I've thought of? And
I was going to ask like what we thought, like where we think.
Okay, I'll just throw a couple out. We'll vibe check it. Okay. So I think TCU has been a name that's been thrown around. I think, you know, when like you've seen what Mark Campbell has done in the past with Sabrina, you see it now with Haley. Like it's obviously like
Oregon was
portal.
one of her original
Yep.
top schools.
Yep. So like I think that one, I see the line of thinking there. Obviously, it seems like NIL is not a problem at TCU. Is kind of the vibe. So like if it is more of an NIL thing and like it's more kind of that lane. I could see TCU. So I think I probably have like 4 schools. So TCU's one.
Okay.
You got USC West,
Yep.
Southern Cal. You go for your 1 year. It might be different in terms of like the immediate money you're making, but talk about being in a big market. You play with these freshmen that looked phenomenal in March against Kansas State and are going to be another year. You have Jazzy Davidson coming in. Obviously, Juju Watkins is likely going to be out for at least the heavy majority of this year. So you're going to be on the ball and being able to kind of facilitate. That's kind of a different version of NIL where it's more like the name, image, and likeness, maybe more than like a potential collective.
Yeah.
But from a basketball perspective and what I feel Olivia Miles needs to grow upon before going to the W, it's the defensive side of the ball. And we've seen how that kind of, whether it be subbing out late games or stuff like that has been the big part. And I'll tell you right now, I can think of two very, very, very good defensive schools that, God forbid, they need an offense. And that's Texas and Duke. And Texas is the one that I personally like just a little bit more just because they have more offensive pieces around. Rory Harmon is I think has another year of eligibility. Technically, I don't think we've gotten.
She was given a red shirt for her torn ACL. Yeah,
right. So like technically, she could come back. We haven't like there's no word one way or the other.
I believe, like to my knowledge, she is. Like I don't think she's confirmed anywhere, but there's not been any discussion of her leaving, and they specifically had to appeal to get the year back. So my assumption would be that she is coming back.
Yeah, but even then, I think it provides a unique opportunity it's a different way of playing off ball. But if Rory kind of runs the offense and you have, even just the 3-point shooting that we've seen, which is, obviously a major improvement with Olivia this year, but being able to be the 2 guard with you have Rory at the 1, Olivia at the 2, Maddie at the 3, like, come on now, I can get behind that, And then Duke, I think Duke desperately needs an engine offensively, and that's what she could go and be there. It'd be crazy if she stayed within the ACC, but Duke is maintaining almost every piece that they have this year. I think Reagan Richardson and De Jesus are the only 2 that are graduating, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and I think pretty much everyone else stays.
The Olivia Miles, Toby Fournier pick and roll.
Come on, and you want to talk about being able to boost your defensive ability. While not really sacrificing any of the on-ball aspect of, she'd be asked to do a ton offensively, but also I don't think that's something that she would shy away from. I don't really imagine that, like just knowing the player that she is. So you could help set up others, you could help get others open, you could space the floor and allow Duke to be able to hit some threes. Like those 2 teams desperately need an engine offensively. And Olivia Miles would be very interested in either of those systems. But those were the 4 schools that immediately came to mind.
Yeah, do you know my one that immediately came to mind would be so messy in the best
Is it UConn?
Yeah.
Is it UConn?
It's UConn.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, that's
I thought of it too. I was like,
good.
Like,
it would be so good because she would fit, like, Paige leaving, she would come in as like a big offensive. They play a good defense, she could kind of. But like,
make sense.
Oh man, imagine going 4 years at Notre Dame and then transferring to UConn.
Yeah. Hey, all I know is right now, and you can mark this down right now. A year from now, right? Whenever that bracket gets revealed, I promise you, whatever team Olivia Miles is on will be in the same region as Notre Dame. I would put my life on it.
Yeah.
The
Olivia Miles Bowl
is so messy. We saw it this year. Like, bro,
that's why they refuse to add like any actual analytical metrics in there, because it would remove their ability to just do things for the sake of being messy. And God forbid.
Hey, you know what? Think of the messiest person you know. It's a man, and it's me. So, like, as much as, like, you're not wrong, however, I'd be there. I'd be sat. I'd be sat.
Speaking, one last thing before we move on to the actual Final Four conversation is that now that Olivia Miles is a 2026 prospect, she gonna be a Toronto Temple. Let's go.
Maybe.
Let's go. Jamie,
I'm really Hey, I'm really like stretching like 1 point into like, okay, if this happened, like Olivia being like the small domino. Actually, no. I'll tell you right now, the big domino here is Flau'jae enters the draft this year. The
Yeah.
first domino was Samaya, and then now Olivia, and like you get to go to a great Seattle, because like to me it's like Paige and Flau'jae, like they're good. Like if they're on these CBA contracts, they're gonna be okay.
They're gonna be
In
okay,
like
Yeah,
so
if you're
like I
thinking
could
about
see
who has the least concern for what
Yes,
their base salary
it's
is
Paige and
because of their
Flau'jae.
other endorsements.
Yeah, like for this draft cycle, it's absolutely Paige and Flau'jae. So like, if you're a Flau'jae and you get to go to Seattle, you get to go and take over. Like this is a fantastic organization that's already invested, has their own arena. There's worse places to end up, Uncasville. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, they got a team for at least another year.
I'm sorry. That was unnecessary. But like
messy.
Uncasville, like I don't really want to go there. So like if you're Flau'jae and like you see this opening up potentially,
you know what? I don't
intrigued.
hate it. She would still be eligible for the expansion draft. I wouldn't hate it.
Well, I don't think she would be unprotected, but then you get Paige and Flau'jae in Unrivaled in year 2.
Oh my God! Stop.
I could get behind it.
Yeah, we won't get into the whole Benajelani Unrivaled / the other injuries that are set to come, but that's a conversation for like 3 weeks from now. When we turn to the WNBA.
Yeah,
don't
even mention it. My brain will explode.
Let's move into Final Four now, because you two are jetting off to the oasis of Tampa Bay, Florida. The ideal vacation destination? Yeah.
I'm really excited for the basketball.
Love. Anyway, so Final Four. We have 2 games obviously on Friday, and then the championship is on Sunday, and obviously, a lot of other fun stuff happening in between. But we end up now with the matches of South Carolina versus Texas and UCLA versus UConn. And I saw a funny thing online yesterday that was like, the Final Four is now South Carolina and the 3 teams that beat South Carolina this season, which is wild. And also, like, if anybody, like, it's just I don't know, it's just like a fun little tidbit of like, this is real, like, competition. I think there's so many times where we've just been like, oh, South Carolina's a lock. South Carolina's a lock. And like, I don't think they're a lock. Like, do I think they have the ability to beat Texas? Yeah, like, sure. Do I
like
think
they've done it,
Yeah, they've done it. It's fine, but then whoever comes out, like, first of all, the UCLA UConn game is going to be wild, like, must see basketball. But then, like, that final, like, potential final of like South Carolina and either UCLA, which like rematch is wild, or also UConn, where like the budding rivalry is also, and UConn handed them a terrible loss, probably the worst loss out of the 3 of them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because it was like their first home loss
in
years or whatever. Like the UCLA one kind of sucked because in terms of like the big streak of it all, but the UConn one was rough.
And it was early in the season, but that like UConn was like, okay, we're kind of getting our feet under us, and then it sort of felt like sort of the air came out of the building, and then they obviously bounced back, as we've talked about a million times. Like, it helps you to get some of those things exposed. But like for them, you cannot look past Texas, but you got to be licking your chops for, okay, if we take care of business here against this team we've already gotten twice this year, we have the chance to go for some really big redemption against 2 teams that I think would be the top 2 teams they would like to see again to really prove themselves.
Yeah. And I think, like, my point in all of this is that, like, this is probably the most parity we've had in the Final Four in a while.
In a minute, yeah.
Yeah, because, like, don't get me wrong, like, last year, South Carolina just, like, there was no way they were losing that championship. Like, that team was just absolutely unstoppable. Obviously, they went undefeated. Like, they were literally unbeatable. And, like, obviously there was, like, Caitlin in Iowa, but, like, there wasn't as much depth to that team as there are teams here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, and especially with the whole Paige narrative, like, I get that there was the Caitlin Clark narrative of last year, but, like, something about this, like, Paige narrative where they're coming back from, like, this UConn kind of legacy of they haven't been healthy of the past few years, and now they're kind of starting to peak at the right time, and it's Paige's last ride, and, all of this like
It's
narrative stuff, it's just
Yeah.
like it's a lot. Like it's the pressure is building.
Yeah, no, it is. I think if you're comparing like kind of like the last rides aspect
Yeah.
of it, is like both players are absolutely playing some of their best basketball
Yeah.
right now. Like at this like if you're comparing like Caitlin and Paige last year, I think
Yeah.
you just look at the supporting cast and you go, hey, Paige is playing her best basketball and has Sarah Strong next to her doing what she did against USC, and like, and there's just like, there's levels to it, like in that way. So like, but to your point on the parity, like South Carolina last year felt like a team really without flaw. They had added the 3-point, the 3-point shooting. They had the big. This year, like every team to some level, like we've seen them stumble at different points and like do it in kind of different ways at different times and whatnot. But so I mean, like you look at this, you now look at 4 teams that like if I think I certainly have kind of like a power ranking in my head of like, okay, I think this team, like in that way. But like if any of these teams won it, I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know how many times we get to say that about 4 Final Four contenders. Like I mean, like that it's just again the increased growth of the talent disparity, like going all the not disparity of like small amounts of talent, but like it's the parity, the dispersing of talent across the nation. Obviously, these are 4. It's not like we got some small program in this Final Four, but like obviously, it's not a day where it's a game where you got 15 All-Americans on 2 rosters and we know who's ending up in each, on either side of the bracket. So I'm very excited. I'm Texas South Carolina round 4 is
Not round 4.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Oh man, Texas.
We almost could have gotten the Battle of LA Part 4, which would have been hilarious.
That would have been insane.
Would have been wild.
Yeah.
But we didn't get
That
that.
would have been too much to have both of those. Like I mean,
yeah.
if
I'm
it was
glad
all
to get a
fully
new
loaded,
matchup.
like great, but like Lord above, like give us
Yeah.
something. Well, that's what like I we're recording on Tuesday, and so it's April Fool's, and like I thought about figuring out how to phrase a post. Once again, joking about using the coin flip for the Final Four game after I had more people than they should have take it seriously for saying that they were just going to flip a coin if it went to overtime in the SEC championship game. And when like a single person took that for serious, I was like, ooh. But I just don't even want to joke about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm kind of bored of it. But, I mean, it'll be a great game. It'll be a great game. But I'm much more excited for UConn UCLA. I think that's what it comes down to.
I'll put it plainly. Is Texas going to score this time? Because that game against TCU, like, here's my thing about Texas. Here's my thing about Texas this whole time. Obviously, they are here for a reason. Like, this is no, like, there's, like, obviously, they are a very, very good team. Like, this is the defense that they have is ridiculous. And obviously, like, the whole thing about Texas that has scared me this entire season is that they can't build a lead. They don't blow good teams out. Like they can win and they win close games and they've done it a lot. They're here for a reason, but you're never gonna feel good like until the final buzzer sounds if you're a Texas fan. That's just not what makes this team what it is. And so when you get into these deep rounds where it feels like there is a bit of inevitability to some level that these teams are good enough to go on a run at some point during a game.
Yeah.
It's like if you get punched, how do you punch back if you're Texas? And because obviously we've seen now multiple games with South Carolina where they just blow them out, right? But also we saw the game in Austin where Texas was built for it. So like as I look into this game, I feel like the first quarter is going to be so massive in this one because if Texas gets in a quick hole, I don't know how good their capability will be to dig themselves out of it, right? We haven't seen that when it comes to just being able to go on an offensive run in order to do that. But if they come in and they're not kind of shook, because I thought that they were shook at Colonial Life Arena in that first matchup, and I don't think like nearly as bad in the SEC tournament matchup, but obviously like it still didn't go the way that they wanted, But in that Austin matchup, they were ready. They were ready for that game. And whatever happened, like I don't know if it was just being at home or what in that atmosphere. I don't know what it was. But that's the Texas that has to show up and show up early in this game. Because I mean, obviously South Carolina hasn't been the smoothest run, but again, they won games. Like obviously these two teams are here for a reason. So I still think South Carolina wins this. I wouldn't expect the full blowout aspect of it, like this deep into the game. But that Texas TCU game, like they had TCU in hell the entire game, and found themselves consistently only up by like
Let
2
them
to
back
6
into
points.
it every time.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
and
the
like
other
that's
thing
what's dangerous
too
to me.
about the Texas TCU game is, I was watching it again with like my buddy, and I was like, wow, like Texas is crashing the glass. Like they're doing so well on the boards. And then I went to go look at the box score, and they weren't had. Ugh, what am I trying to say? TCU was higher in rebounds than they were, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like it, like watching the game and then seeing the stats is so different. Like if you watch the game without the score, without the box score, whatever, you'd be like, oh, they blew them out by whatever, how much points. No.
It felt like it. Like the vibes. I mean, like TCU was just like, I mean, just so like beat up, like emotionally. It felt like like in that game, like it was
Interesting
brutal.
choice of words, Tyler.
I mean, that's
well.
look, the discrepancy in rebounds is what happens when one team has 21 turnovers and the other has 8.
Right.
And so TCU has 45 total shot attempts versus Texas 61. So like they shot, I mean, Texas still shot a better percentage from the floor, but you're seeing more potential for missed shots from Texas, as opposed to, you've got just a bunch of turnovers for TCU when
Anyway, let's talk about Paige Beck.
Not awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
I wanna say on Texas. I am definitely looking at Rory Harmon in this game. She is so much more capable than she's shown in a lot of this season, and obviously she is still coming back from a knee injury. She is still kind of getting her feet under her. I think we've seen at times flashes of the player that she was and that she will, I believe, get back to being. But one of Texas' big issues is being so reliant on Madison Booker to just say, when nothing else is working, it is all on your shoulders here, kid. And I don't think that that's a winning formula, especially against South Carolina. And so, they're going to have to get more people involved. I think that includes their bench. The freshmen have been incredible in this tournament run for the Longhorns. I mean, they've been crucial, really, to have Jordan Lee, Brianna Preston coming in and contributing. But I really think that a lot of it comes down to getting Rory Harmon involved more heavily, whether that be scoring or whether it be having the ball in her hands a little bit more to take some of the pressure off of Madison Booker to allow her to create off ball. There's been times that I think that some of Rory's shots are not maybe the most well advised. I just want to see her at the peak of her decision making, at the peak of her playmaking abilities, because that peak is incredible. And if that's what she does, she raises Texas potential so much higher. But it can't all be on Madison Booker. I'm really looking to see what Rory Harmon brings to the table in that matchup.
Yeah, and I think the intriguing thing about talking about like when nothing else, happens, go to Madison Booker. That's kind of the same formula that UCLA has, where it's like where nothing else is working, go to Lauren Betts, go to Lauren Betts, go to Lauren Betts. And I think that one of the things, and like maybe this is just like taking something you saw out of content or whatever, but one of the things in the Elite Eight game was it was like first quarter. She gets on the bench, camera's on her, of course, and she tells her trainer, I'm just so effing tired. And, like, fair, same. Tired queen, same. But, like, I think, and even, like, Corey Close had, like, a quote where she was like, yeah, we're just going to, like, until it stops working, we're just going to go to Lauren, go to Lauren, go to Lauren. And, like, that's a lot of responsibility. And then you add on the fact that you're playing a team like UConn, which when a Paige or an AZ are going off on the perimeter, you have that. Then you have Sarah Strong in the front court, which, like, I mean, I say the front court, but as we saw last night, Sarah Strong can shoot from literally anywhere on the floor. And it's so automatic. I just can't. I can't with her. I watched a few, like, Sarah Strong truthers be born last night, and it was a great vibe. But just like to have to deal with that if like alone basically if your team isn't clicking in the way that they should be. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of UCLA players step up in the tournament. I mean, Gabrielle
No,
Hawkins.
just seen in the last game, yeah.
Yeah, like there's a few I could like. I think it's Tamia Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she stepped up as well. So like, there's definitely they have pieces. Kiki Rice, of course, like and so I don't know that matchup really intrigues me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I not to like oversimplify this, right? But there's been a very common thread when UCLA wins their big games, and that's them knocking down the 3-pointer. And whenever UCLA can hit their threes, like they're phenomenal. Like I mean, like there's like I don't know what you're supposed to do. They have like they have a ton of depth. Like obviously you have Lauren Betts down low. So like if and on one hand it's like to me with the way UConn is playing right now and like the insane level that Paige Beckers is playing at, and then now you add Sarah Strong playing at this level to that mix. To me, it feels like UCLA is going to absolutely have to give their best shot because it seems like UConn is rolling in a way that they're not really going to stumble at this point.
Not even like AZ Fudd had an off night.
Right, exactly. Like this is still not UConn at their full power,
No,
like so
Fudd could pop off at any time. We know Ashlyn Shade can shoot the lights out. KK Arnold is really good on defense. Like they have so many factors that could come into it that it's like.
I mean, it's simple. Like to me right now, like this version of Paige Beckers that we have witnessed in this March Madness tournament is like one of the best runs I've seen. Period ever in a March Madness tournament. Like this is ridiculous. 330+ point games. We know what she did to Oklahoma. Like it's ridiculously automatic right now from all over the floor. The only thing that you can do to stop Paige Beckers is to not let her get the ball in her hands. And then you still have Sarah Strong. You still have AZ Fudd. You still have Ashlyn. Like there's so much talent. So for me, again, not to kind of oversimplify it, but like if it was the key to the games, I'm looking at UCLA's 3-point shooting to see if they can give other variables around Lauren Betts for UConn to have to deal with. Because I think, not that like UConn has like super insane amounts of size or anything, but I don't think you're getting the Lauren Betts Ole Miss game in this. Like just from a scheming perspective, from what the roster does look like for UConn, I don't think that's what you're getting from this. And I think that also UConn has the ability to potentially crash down kind of similar in the way that USC did in their wins against Lauren Betts, like with their perimeter defenders, whether it be a KK Arnold, whether it be a Paige Beckers. Like I'm intrigued on that side as well, but I'm looking at the UCLA 3-point shooting as their like kind of best chance in. And if they don't get that, I would certainly lean towards UConn winning this game.
Yeah. I'm very interested in, I think the approach for these two teams, because I think UCLA is one of the most complete teams in the country as far as top to bottom, positions, depth, contributions off the bench, having experience, all of that. I think there's been gaps at times. Not everyone is always going to play at the height of their potential, and that's fine. That's also where depth comes into play, where when you have additional options, that helps a lot. But UConn is just playing so well. And so certainly Lauren Betts has an advantage inside. Like that is simply inarguable. But there's a lot of ways to mitigate that. And we've seen that not often this year, at least. But we know that it exists. We know it's something that UConn is capable of doing. The way that they handled Oklahoma, the way they handled Reagan Beers with Oklahoma, and the way that they've done it consistently over the course of the season. But I think that, as you say, Tyler, if Lauren is able to show her passing ability, if she's making good decisions, it gets really, really difficult to guard them. I personally think they're going to be looking to take Lauren out of the game as much as possible, not so much strategically, but in minutes. I think they're going to attack her on offense. I think they're going to have a lot of motion. I think they're going to be looking to see if they can draw her out of position, see if they can draw fouls. Not a ton of teams have been able to do so, but some have. And I think that if you take her out of the equation, that's most of UCLA's win condition. And so I think that that's something we're going to see early, at the very least, is them really trying to get a great deal of motion, a lot of guards going to the rim, trying to draw her out so that she's not going to be just that solid rim protector where she's going to have to be moving. And that's where you can get people to foul, because, you know, people talk about shot blockers all the time. Most shot blockers, if you're really hunting to block a shot, you're probably fouling most of the time. They don't call it because no one calls any fouls based on the principle of verticality. But based on the rule book, it's a foul. So when you get down to it, especially against a team that, according to a great many people, my own opinion out of it, gets a favorable whistle in UConn. It's a
there you go. There you go. Tiptoe around it. There you go.
It's a sentiment that is out there. I just think officiating in general is inconsistent. Whatever. But if you're going to talk about an opportunity where you do not want to give anyone an excuse to call fouls, that would be one. And that's something that UConn's really going to be hunting hard. And so that means that UCLA as a whole needs to be on their toes, needs to be really solid defensively. They need to be making sure that they're protecting Lauren by not making her clean up everything behind them. And then if something happens, Tamia Gardner was incredible the other day. And so they definitely have depth, but I really think that a lot of it comes down to defense, because I think that UCLA is going to be able to get points. I think it's about how much they can stop UConn.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, the usual thing these days. Like, how do you stop that? But Jamie, I'm excited for you to open when I send you a Sephora ref shirt for your birthday. That'll be fun.
Look, I've got some Crusades that I'm heavy on, and that's just one of them. That's just one of them, man.
We love to see it. Yeah, I mean, the next time we record our pod, March Madness will be over, which is
crazy.
Wild. That's wild.
Crazy. The NCAA season will be over. That's
so wild. Wow. Now I'm starting to get nostalgic. That's such good times this season. We're not going anywhere, though. We're going to keep yapping.
You know
how it is.
You know.
Anything else to add on Final Four/finals? Also, the Bird and Taurasi show is coming back, and I'm excited for that. That'll
be fun. Yeah.
This
week's both retired.
This week's Her Hoop Stats newsletter, or today's, I suppose, Tulane Treasures goes daily goes a couple times a week now. Yes. So April 1st, Tulane's Treasures is reseeding the 2024 or 2025 Final Four. Yes, and there's a whole bunch of really good information in there. Andy goes into kind of the analytics of what has already sort of been defined in past newsletters as a national championship contender, but also goes into some of the performances over the course of the tournament. And so I thought that this was a really fun and pretty brief read. So it's really good, I think, just to kind of catch you up to speed and see where everyone's at, because, you have 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed, but it doesn't really break down that simply as far as who the betting favorites are, who the public favorites are, things like that. So I really enjoyed that today.
And speaking of that sort of stuff, an update on our bracket challenge. As much as I would like to forget that my bracket exists, we're here right now. Someone named Kevin C. Burns is leading our press.
Shout out to Kevin.
Shout out to Kevin. Doing much better than I am, because I'm last at 137th between the three of us. Tyler is sitting at 110th. And Jamie, despite picking Iowa State to win the entire tournament, is sitting at 99.
That's wicked.
Which, I picked UConn to win the whole thing, so I'm hoping to just, at the end. I still think there's hope for me. I think
UConn's in my natty, so...
There you
I'd
go.
be right with you.
There you go.
There we go.
So Kevin has Texas beating UCLA. So we'll have to see if
that certainly would separate from some people.
Yeah, that would separate. That's a choice that is being made. Praise the Lord, hook 'em horns, I guess. But oh man, Vic. He didn't take his jacket off the whole time last night.
Also, I gotta say, look, Vic, I could do without the talking about the crowds constantly, but if you did not get me right in the heart when you dropped I might not be their entire world, but they are my whole world about his team, I'm sitting there like
about made a sooner shed a tear.
Yeah. What is with these old white men and making me cry these days? Anyways,
I'll tell you on that one.
Praise the Lord, hook 'em horns, I guess. Shout out to Kevin C. Burns. I mean, we're rooting for you if that happens. We'll see what the bracket is at next week when the tournament is over, and we'll make sure to update you on who ends up winning the bracket. But oh man, my bracket's been rough this year. It was
telling you, I mixed head and heart in one bracket, and
it was last year. My bracket was 98% accurate. 98.
Damn.
This year, I think I'm hitting like 40. This do be rough.
Yeah.
Anyways, luckily my job isn't hindering on whether my bracket is right.
Right.
So, enjoy Final Four, you two. You know, I'm looking forward to the picture of you two meeting up and me being photoshopped into it.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll get the full crew together at some point. But enjoy the Florida weather and the hoops and the air-conditioned arena. Actually, home of the Raptors 2020-2021.
This is true.
Home of the Toronto Raptors. So I'll be there in spirit.
There you go.
There we go. And for everybody listening, make sure to go check out her hoop stats, the newsletter. We have a bunch of stuff coming out. Also last week, all of the Becky Hammon Mid-Major Awards Player of the Year articles came out. I wrote one of them, so you should go check it out. Got to talk to Laura Ziegler at St. Joe's, so that was fun. Her hoop stats is live tweeting games and updating, our database and switching to the WNBA draft soon. So make sure to check all of that out. And we will be back next week to talk something.
A national champion.
Yeah, national championship,
national
WNBA
champion,
draft.
portal, draft. Because by that point, we should have draft announcements basically locked up on who will be eligible, who won't be.
Exactly. Who knows who the transfer portal is going to get from now until then. So we'll be back next Wednesday with all of that. So, enjoy the Final Four, and we'll be back next week for the press break. Chelsea, Jamie, Tyler, we'll see you next week.